due to make the next vlog, I ended up with the flu. So I've been recovering from that and still sniffling a bit, so bear with me. I've got what I guess you could say is a bit of a strange vlog for you today, but hopefully it's a very inspiring one. I'm sure most of you have heard about the new foundation that Lady Gaga and her mother have just set up, and that is the Born This Way Foundation. Now, Lady Gaga is a huge inspiration to me as an artist as it is. To see her set up a foundation like this was really, really lovely. The Born This Way Foundation says that it's all about empowering youth and inspiring bravery in today's world. It seeks to have equality, individuality and acceptance become part of this world, which unfortunately at the moment those things aren't. Now, it sounds really simple. It's something that everybody talks about, but nobody really hears the message behind it. Nobody really pays attention. I've heard so many people in the past talk about how it's so important to be yourself, and yet when someone is, they end up taking the mick out of them. I've said for a while now that I really do believe that messages like these, it takes a legendary figure such as Lady Gaga to say something like this, so that people will actually begin listening to it and actually begin to do something about the frightening situations that this world continually finds itself in. Now, how I heard about this was through Twitter. Some of you know I'm a little bit obsessed with Twitter, but I think it's a brilliant tool, and it's certainly one that Lady Gaga is using at the moment to promote this fabulous new foundation. So what they did to start the kind of storm around this new thing is to create a hashtag. Now, I had a little mosey on there to see what other people have put under this hashtag. What Born This Way Foundation has asked people to do is to write, "I will help Born This Way Foundation," or at BTW Foundation, create a hashtag Brave New World in 2012 by, and they've asked people to complete the sentence. So here's some of the things that people have been saying, some of the ones that really, really inspire me or hit home for me. So, I will help the Born This Way Foundation create a brave new world in 2012 by being myself, by letting everybody know how wrong bullying is, by being who I am inside and help others to be who they are, by helping people, by fighting for the rights of the children in this world, by continuing my mission to end bullying and suicide, by giving my ears to those who need to be heard, by standing up for what I believe in. Now, to me they're all very, very similar in that they all want to help people and to bring people together in a world where at the moment it seems like people really aren't together. So that's what people see a brave new world to be: one of unity, one that works together to solve the world's problems. So seeing all of these finished sentences with the hashtag made me think, well, what's mine going to be? Well, I believe that through the arts we can truly change the world for the better. The arts can bring joy, and at the end of it all, there's someone with a handwritten letter waiting for me. He's here to see her, but he gives me a simple recipe, and I feel a shivering in my hair roots. They can help us express our emotions.
When you're lonely, hope starts burning. Cover your neck. Resist the gloaming. A thin arm stretched forward could pull a faltering one toward a gorge of claws when sourcing sharp. That voice plucks like a distant heart. That melody can hook in ears. A life-choked memory re-clears like lidless love uncapped by fears. A desperate smile appears.
They can make people see things very differently.
Cautiously I reached out, longing to touch it, and as my fingers grazed her sticky skin, she slowly let her hands curl around the back of my neck, pulling my lips towards the inviting fountain of red that gently gushed over her collarbone.
Through the arts, we can truly change the world for the better, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I want to create a brave new world in 2012 by using the arts to bring world issues to the attention of the masses, those masses that aren't necessarily listening right now. Now, there are varying ways in which I can do that through my work. One particular project that I've got brewing at the moment is a dance theatre piece called Human. Now, in true Broken Rose style, it will be combining dance, physical theatre, live music and storytelling, and lots of multimedia technologies. But the main idea behind it is that it explores the human condition and what it's like to live on this planet in this day and age. It explores the way people feel about the world and the reasons why, and it tells a story that will hopefully give the audience an idea of how they can go home and make some of these terrible things stop. Now, I'm not expecting what at the moment is simply just an idea and a pad full of notes to come to fruition before the end of the year, but I think it's creating these new ideas and working towards a common goal that is really going to help this world. I really do think that there's a group within the younger generation now who are willing and able to fight for this world. But what about those in this generation who aren't necessarily aware of what's going on, or who are aware of the horrors in the world but somehow believe that they can't help it anyway, or it's not their problem? This is humanity. If a terrible problem involves someone from our species, it's all our problem. Let's get these other people involved. Now, how do I propose to do that? Well, I have an idea for another Broken Rose commission. Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream has always been a favourite of mine. It's a beautiful story, but it is one of deceit and drug use. For me, a modern interpretation of how Puck continuously poisons people could be akin to spiking someone's drink in a club, for example. I want to get to grips with this modern interpretation of it. I want to see what's going on in there and see how that translates to the world today. But I want to do it in a way that will reach people that the theatre and Shakespeare doesn't usually reach. Now, a while back, there was a production of Romeo and Juliet done entirely through Twitter. I want to extend that. I think we can take it to the next level. I think we can have an entire Shakespeare play through the internet, through Twitter, through blogs, through YouTube, through various different online arts communities. Let's tell the story in bits and tell it in different ways. Let's have one of the mechanicals tell the story of the play that they are acting out through a fairy tale. How do you access that fairy tale? Via a blog on the internet. Let's have a visual representation of how Titania feels on DeviantArt. Even better, let's film an actress show us how she feels and get it up on YouTube. Of course, all these stories will be linked through a central website, and what is released will be released in chronological order. Now, that commission is something I am hoping to get on its feet before the end of 2012. Follow @BrokenRoseArts on Twitter for more details. And now for the big question. Why? Why now? Why is global consciousness suddenly turning around and going, hang on, wait a minute, something's wrong here? Well, let me tell you one thing, it's not certain. For another thing, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out that we as a civilization are gradually destroying ourselves. But why 2012? Well, the Mayans had quite an interesting theory. Now, I'm sure you've all heard of the theory of Apocalypse 2012. Now, that was what the Mayans created. But what if the Mayans were right? Now, I'm not an expert on the subject, but I have looked into how the prophecy works. The prophecy states that on the 25th of December 2012, the world will come to an end. However, whether that is an apocalypse as we all think, i.e. that you see in apocalyptic movies, or whether that is the dawning of a new age, is still up for discussion. Personally, I think it's the coming of a new world. And by that, I don't mean it's necessarily aliens arriving from another planet or something crazy like that. I think it's a shift in the way we think about ourselves and the way we think about this planet. Now, I'm an atheist, and I'm certainly not saying that I'm suddenly believing in all of these prophecies from various different religions. I think a prophecy like this can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. We read it, we hear about it, we see how it resonates with our time now, and we do what we can to make sure that the actual end of the world, or at least really bad things, doesn't happen. Now, the Mayans base this prophecy on their theory of cyclical time, how history actually repeats itself. Civilizations rise take over the world, then slowly disappear, and then somebody else comes in. As far as the Mayans are concerned, it's now time for somebody else to come in, or something else to come in, some other frame of thought. To the Mayans, apocalypse means something very different. It means a revelation. They believed that in 2012, Earth was going to enter its 6th world age, and that this meant that there were choices for humanity, difficult choices that humanity had to make that would allow the species the chance to work out Earth's problems. Now, from what I can see, not just with the Born This Way Foundation, but with so many other things, and so many other people, even across YouTube, is that there is a generation of people now wanting to do this, wanting to answer these questions, make some choices, and change things for the better. It's less the end of the world, and more the fact that humanity has to accept the consequences for its actions, and for how the species is slowly destroying its own planet. The Mayans actually predicted pollution, climate change, and global warming, all of which, no one can argue, is mainly our fault. A huge part of the Mayan prophecy is that we are the prophecy. We are the ones who created this mess, and we are the ones who can change it. So let's change it. Let's do all of these things that people have said, and let's do them in our own way. Me? I'm gonna make music. I'm gonna write. As an infant, I'm not really sure how I did it, but I remember yanking the makeshift knife out of me, causing the blood to gush heavier, and yet feeling a sense of relief as I did so. It was as if the tightness of the wound was caused by the offending article, and my brain hadn't matured enough to realise that it was the only thing that was stopping a life-threatening amount of bleeding. I couldn't take my eyes off it. I watched as the dark red liquid skidded down towards my wrist, mesmerised. Then, suddenly feeling disembodied, I watched myself lean down to taste my own warm nectar. In the split second before, the thought of it had thrilled me, but now that my childish tongue was so ardently lapping at the source, the experience was even more exciting than I had expected. I was interrupted by the sound of my father's footsteps getting closer once again. He'd bolted into the kitchen before I'd even hit the ground, and now he seemed to be returning for a second bout with my mother. He let out a fierce yelp when he saw me on the floor, and my instincts, combined with my sprightly young legs, carried me sharply up the stairs. I must have passed out as soon as I reached my room. I woke up in hospital, with a severe case of anemia, something which my body grew steadily used to, and my bruised mother smiling tearfully over me. My father was nowhere to be seen. He came back, of course, despite protests to my mum. She'd always had a weird sense of loyalty, and she made it clear that because she was his wife, she would never leave him, no matter what he did. Even at 8 years old, I vowed that I would never find myself in a similar situation. I'd known that something was about to change when I'd agreed to that just one glass of wine and returned to his perfume-infused palace that smelled of her. I knew that something was shifting when he complained about the heat, and before I knew it he'd removed some layers and sat facing me on the sofa's edge. Never before had I considered an infidelity to be so attractive, but the possibility of surely this was something different. As he nuzzled the curve of my neck and ran his fingers along the pale lines of my jaw, he watched my eyes flicker in unsure anticipation and gently pushed my shoulders towards the arm of the chair. There his lips hovered above mine, blushing but never touching, wanting to but resisting, images in each other's minds. I'm going to dance. I'm going to create every kind of art to make all kinds of people sit up and listen. So what are you going to do? Post a video response with your pledge to save a little bit of this reality. Together we can make this world a better place. Here's to a brave new world.